So one of the things I wanted to talk about was liberal arts as well, and just kind of how that's affected you guys here on campus. I can quote, actually, we had some statistics from alumni, and 90% of them actually found the liberal arts approach to be very helpful to the education that they received here. So you guys care to comment?
Well, just to quickly clarify what a liberal arts degree is, in case people aren't aware of it.
Yeah, that's
a
good.
a liberal arts degree is basically a degree where you're kind of allowed to study and look at things outside of your major, what you're looking for to study, in comparison to a normal degree where it's quite focused on what it is that you came to study for. A liberal arts degree allows you to learn a little bit more about other things, such as math and science, in addition to your degree, so that in the future, if you would like to go more into depth into those areas, you can, or if you would just like to have them just as a skill to develop, because any kind of skill like that could help you in your own career in the future, you can. And also just so that it makes things more exciting and balanced for you as a person throughout your uni days, when you're not just focused on one thing in one subject, but rather learning different things at all times. So that's kind of what a liberal arts degree is in comparison to a non-liberal arts degree, which is quite focused on what you're studying.
Yeah, and I think kind of a big point is that flexibility. Like, I know
Flexibility, balance, yeah.
Yeah, when I was looking at universities, actually I was located in Germany, and I was looking for universities there. It's very much like, I don't know, I guess for Americans you might not be familiar, but it's like almost like going to high school again, where it's very much you just get this degree, these are the courses that you take, this is the schedule, now go and do it. And there's not too much flexibility in the courses you can take. And I think that's kind of across the board in a lot of European countries.
In Britain as well, which is why it's so unique to have that here, to be able to live in London, but have a liberal arts degree. It's
right.
Kind of cool.
So, yeah, if you're an American, this is just every university that we've got. But if you're coming from Europe anywhere, that flexibility is actually very, very unique to this university in specific.
And that flexibility gives you, once you graduate, an American and a British degree.
That's true.
Which is also a unique selling point to Richmond.
It's true. I find it very helpful, It's the balance, because it can be stressful at times when, people are studying just one thing, and then maybe at one point you may think, that seems interesting, but people without the liberal arts, they wouldn't be able to do maybe psychology if they're doing photography, for instance. So the fact that you can do it, it's very beneficial, and people can unwind a bit more, shall I say, because you can just, kind of create your own path instead of just focusing on one thing that you did decide to do. But, ideas change, and you never know what could happen.
I think,
So,
yeah.
Sorry. I will say that coming from an American background, I can't say that I ever expected to not take a liberal arts degree, because liberal arts is kind of the standard in the States, which I know is different from other places. So I think for me, it was kind of the opposite, where I came here like, duh, it's liberal arts, that's what I was going to do anyway, and then kind of realizing its benefits from a backwards perspective, because I see other people's perspective, like we were talking about diversity, and they start talking about how they like that you have the ability to learn things outside of your major, and I'm like, oh well, I didn't realize that wasn't an option. I'm so glad that I picked it. And then I will also say, we're saying that, coming from, I think most of us are like under a kind of BA arts kind of degree, but for someone who is maybe taking like a math focused major or a business major, but their interest on the side is maybe photography or something a bit more artsy, but they don't particularly want to do that as a career, it's really helpful to be in a liberal arts school, because you still have the opportunity to make your education interesting for you and fun for you, because you can still take that extra photography course, you can still take, like a photography minor, or maybe you're interested in fashion, you can take that fashion history course and make your business major, something that you feel is a necessity, more interesting for you, so you're not just focusing on the theory of a major that you are taking purely for career purposes.
But also, you don't want that pressure of you just got out of high school and you have to go into university. You don't want that pressure of like, okay, what I decide to study now is going to be my career.
Right.
Not everybody already knows what they want to do. So with a liberal arts degree, it kind of allows you to dabble with a few different fields that you might want to consider for the future.
I think even for quite a few European students, you can start out your liberal arts degree here, and then later on you can decide, you know what, actually, maybe I want to do something more specific, or I want to go to university in the U.S. And you can actually transfer quite a few of the credits. Like I think when I was taking a look, it was around like 50 to 75%. So if you plan in and you just decide, well, I want to go there, I want to spend like a couple of years at this university, and then I want to, go to one of the universities in the U.S., you can transfer a lot of those credits over. And I think that's also actually a pretty big benefit of a liberal arts degree here. If you ever want to go to American university, you have kind of a bridge for it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And as a European, and if you want to study in an American system but don't want to go all the way to America, then here would be great.
Yeah. Welcome home.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. So I guess just more specifically, do you guys have any experiences with the liberal arts degree that you want to kind of comment on? Like any personal experiences with how that's helped?
I mean, with my personal experience with the liberal arts degree, because I'm also from America, so like the liberal arts degree is like the basic, like bare minimum. And so like I struggled with that. Like as a kid, I'm like, why can't I just take classes that will further my education in writing? Because I actually love writing. Specifically, I loved analyzing like literature writing. But because of that liberal arts degree, I'm like able to be like, oh, I understand bare minimum mechanics. I also I wrote this all down because I can dabble back and forth between my main interests, which is just film, television, and audio productions, and Imagineering. I love designing rides as a hobby, so I'm able to actually if I do this, this, and this, and structure like this, it'll work. And then just science in general, because I love learning about, because with the liberal arts degree, I can take classes where I'm I can learn about how we technically have teleportation at its smallest degree, where we can teleport photon A to another photon A and photon B to another photon B. And that's it's just more playing it's going to be at this place at this specific time, so we just got to make sure just ping it right then and there, because it's just prediction of where that photon's going to go.
I'm seeing Jonathan just kind of losing
if I'm
himself. I feel like he wants to trail off and just do another podcast right now.
if I understood that article that I read for my specific astronomy class, it was for an astronomy class that I read this. I went into a rabbit hole. Before I came here, I took an astronomy class at Moore Park, and he's you should look up some articles. He was kind of a very much just write the answers that I tell you, even though they are wrong. But if you don't answer it like this on the test, you're going to fail the test. I'm okay, chill. I'm actually going to take time out of my day to learn what's correct. And I ended up reading an article about how we're able to teleport basically these photons to certain areas. I'm this is so cool.
But no liberal arts degree. For me, I think the most positive thing about liberal arts is liberal arts is the freedom, right? Because you can take, you don't need to take it in a certain order, right? So you're taking it in whatever order, and you're in classes with people who are also taking it in whatever order. So you're talking to all these other people, right? And for example, right now, I learned something really cool about teleportation, right? I wouldn't have learned that, at a normie school. Can I say that? Normie?
Normie and normie.
Yeah, sure.
Normie that isn't liberal arts normie. Yeah. So just anything that's not American normie, I guess.
Yeah.
Non-American.
I mean,
non-Western. Let's call it that. Non-Western normie.
Well,
this is Western.
Yeah.
This is technically Western, but
country. It's really only America that's like that.
Yeah.
So it's just America.
I mean, America is a big. Specifically the U.S. Because again, the Americas. If we say America, we mean the entire continent, North America, South America, Central America. We should really classify it just non-U.S.
I don't know for sure, but I think Canada has a similar. I don't think it's the same as here. Canada does liberal arts too. So when I'm referring to America, I am also referring to other parts of the Americas.
North America.
Right. Yeah. North America, I suppose specifically for me.
I mean, actually, one of the comments that Jonathan made earlier kind of comes up again. Like you said, because you have such a good mix in the classes, you're with people from all the different years. You actually get to know them a lot through the classes. Because otherwise you come in freshers week, you spend a bunch of time with all the other freshmen, and then you're off and doing your classes. And then I actually got to know quite a few of my closer friends when I was either forced into groups with them in my like first year, or when I was just casually kind of just discussing stuff in class, and we would have kind of like a bit of a discussion with each other about one or the other subject. And I realized, oh, you know, like, yeah, cool, let's hang out. Figured out like a week later, oh yeah, they're like in their third year now, and they've done all the classes I want to do, and they're just kind of rolling back to finish out like a 4,000 elective or something like that. So I think that actually the mixing helps a lot with that process.
I think it also helps a lot with just networking, not only because you're meeting people outside of your major that might get you connections to somewhere that you weren't expecting, but also people who might graduate ahead of you that might get you connections to somewhere you're not expecting, but also you have an understanding of different subjects. And when you go out into the workforce, you're not only going to be talking to people within your interest, you're going to be working with teams outside of that. Like, I'm in an internship now, and I took like development courses for like web design and stuff like that, and lots of coding courses as electives here, and I'm working very closely with a web designer because I'm working for a fashion company, and they have e-commerce, and I edit the e-commerce photos, and I have to work with the web designer, and I talk with him a lot. And additionally, he is a mini philosopher, and he loves to talk about philosophy, and because I've taken philosophy here, I can have in-depth conversations with him, and now I have a really good connection with someone who I probably wouldn't be friends with otherwise if I didn't have that understanding from just being involved with other types of knowledge.
So because you mentioned taking internships and making these connections outside of the university, this came to my mind right now, that I don't know if this is like that in every liberal arts university, but I feel like at the beginning they very much give you the little, you know, toolbox with the screwdriver and etc. So that they help you with your employability skills. They help you with volunteering, especially they changed the name now, but
Tools for Change now.
Tools for Change, guys.
Walking around like Bob the Builder. No, but
Wait, what was it used to be?
it used to be called
Transition.
Oh, transition. Is
Yeah.
that what Tools for Change is?
Yeah.
I was like, is that a new course?
Yeah, no. And so, even past that, there are classes where the professors specifically try and incorporate assignments that can be useful in a specific field. Like in a sustainable development class, the professor gives you an assignment. Read through this report of this World Bank project in Ghana and tell me this, and this. And then you learn different techniques and skills that are then used in the field that you possibly might want to go into if you know what you want to do.
Well,
Yeah.
I think even regardless of whether in the end you even work in that area, it kind of going back to what Devin was saying, like you might work with somebody who's doing something in that area, and just having that base knowledge of where their mindset might be with a project, or what are kind of an obstacle that they might need to deal with that you wouldn't know of otherwise because you've never even started to think about, let's say finance or something like that. But if you do have that one course where you kind of learned, oh, this is how they kind of do that, you understand like, oh, it's going to take this long, or this is an obstacle they might be dealing with, and I could help out a little bit on my side by just doing this and this. So, I mean, I think it actually helps a lot when it comes to just working in a team of people that aren't necessarily all doing the exact same thing,
No, it's good. I mean, it's very good to, to be diverse in different areas. So the fact that you're not just focused on one thing, and there may be, let's say, an issue, for an example, because of these liberal arts, you know how to maybe fix something and that's mechanical. You may need to fix something that's mechanical, or maybe you need to learn how to take a picture of what you're doing, psychology, for instance, so you never know what could happen. That's what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah.
You never know what could happen.
You never know what could
It's
happen.
all a discovery,
Yeah.
You're discovering yourself, it gives you the opportunity to figure yourself out as well, because you never know.
Yeah.
And they
I mean,
all interconnect too, like with psychology and photography,
Yeah.
specifically when we talk about techniques of photography, like when you film something from going at an upwards angle or from a downwards angle, and like we talk about like, why does this make you feel like this?
Yeah.
And that's where the psychology comes in. It's like, well, it's because this shot makes you feel very powerless against this character because you're looking up at this character versus looking down at this character where you're like, oh, I feel pity, or oh, I feel like we have power over this character. Like it all interconnects. It really does.
Yeah. I think, and going on to the next subject, kind of the smaller class sizes really helps a lot with that. Being able to, like I said, firstly connect with other students and kind of, if we wanted to take a step further, kind of just taking an elective in a thing that you're not too familiar with, getting to know one of the students that is majoring in that subject and having a discussion with them is infinitely helpful when trying to understand where they might be coming from with stuff. And the small class size helps with that. Also, just being able to talk to professors. I feel like I brought it up already, but sociology class was great for me. And I remember the professor there. This is, by the way, an elective for me. Like, I'm not at all like, oh yeah, I want to do like psychology or anything like that. And yeah, I don't know. It just was super interesting. I was talking to my professor about it. He expanded on things after class. I had some discussions with him, and I found that like maybe not. This isn't going to be like my major. It's not going to be my minor, but it's going to be maybe something I kind of look at and understand and kind of pursue maybe in a hobby way. And like Devin said, like you can have a conversation with some random guy at your work, and you have a connection all of a sudden. So
Yeah, I loved sociology with Justin. He is awesome, and there are a lot of professors that are very similar in that they know you by name, they know every student by name, and they are able to do that because of the smaller class sizes. Like I remember specifically with that class, it was my first semester, and I would always stay after class and just chat with Justin for like however long he had until his next course, because of the smaller class size. In the class, you get kind of a more personal relationship with your professor. Not like, even if you don't stay after class, in the lectures, they're talking with you. They're part of the discussion, and they're trying. They know you by name, and they're trying to get you to understand. And because of that, I felt comfortable to be able to just have a chat after and really delve into my interest. And like sociology is also an elective for me. I didn't know that I would be in love with it so much. And I think the smaller class sizes, the quality of that particular professor and many others, and the liberal arts environment allowed me to kind of delve deeper into a passion that I didn't know I had.
I think with the smaller class sizes, it really allows your teachers to get to know you, and therefore it really helps in the sense that they'll figure out how the best way to reach you is, how the best way to teach you is. And therefore, if you're confused about something, they can maybe take a different approach because they know you and they know that maybe you'll learn better in a different way. If you were in a bigger class, they won't even know who you are, know your name. And if you got confused about something, they might not have the time, the ability, or even the knowledge to understand, like, hey, maybe you need to be taught something in a different way. So I think it's really cool that they know you and they know who you are, because they can really then cater to you and to, like, your needs.
I think it's been a funny experience to, like, have classes with certain professors that, like, as Devin was kind of saying, like you stay back and you have conversations with them, or you have a project where, you want a lot of support from the teacher, which you can get because of obviously the class sizes. But and then like future, like the next year or something, you're still walking around on university and you see them walking through a hallway and you're still like, hey, how's it going? Like somehow like you're buddies, like almost like you're like studying together or some like weird relationship kind of like that. Which is really, really cool, like to be able to be that connected. And I've actually had a few times where, I want to have like a recommendation, or I'm looking for internships or something like that. And I've gone back to professors that I've had that were really cool and just asked, like, how would you do this? Like, how might I be able to get into this industry? Or, do you have any contacts? And they're so ready to help. Like within a few days, they'll come back and be like, yep, I got something for you. So
you said it's almost as if they're studying with you, and in a way they are studying with you, right? Because there's like 10 people in a class. When you have like you get an assigned reading, you do the reading. Optimistically, you do the reading. Optimistically, if you do the reading, you get there, and then it's a very collaborative, like working through the material, right? And so in a way, like there's also, because there's like so many different students from different backgrounds and with different perspectives, right? Everyone has something unique to say, and a lot of the times stuff comes up that the professor or instructor just didn't think about, right? And so that can like kind of bring to light topics or like angles to a subject that wouldn't have come to light if you didn't have this kind of collaborative approach to the reading material. Optimistically. It's optimistic.
You never feel beneath any of the professors here, or like it's something that is unique to this school that I've found. Like for most of the professors, like I've only been here for one semester, so like take my opinion with a grain of salt. Buckets of salt. But like,
sorry,
I've never had. I've gone through many teachers that are like just won't even talk to you because you're beneath them. Mm-hmm. But here, like your professors will actually like, talk to you. Like they may not agree with your opinion, they might have an entirely different viewpoint, but at least they'll listen to you, and like you don't feel beneath them to the point where you feel like you can't talk. I understand that there's a particular professor that. But apart from that, like. It's a rarity. It's a rarity it's very rare. It is a collaborative environment, as Jonathan has said.
I think it's great because there's a lot of professors here where it doesn't even have to be about the class. Like I have a few professors where I can confide in them in certain issues that I'm having that are outside of class or their class, more like an issue with, I don't know, my stress levels or my anxiety or anything like that. I can also confide in them. Shout out to Ruth. We love Ruth. We love you. Awesome. Yeah. So like a lot of the professors here, you could be comfortable enough with them to talk to them, and they will help you in issues that don't even have to do with their class, but more just things that are going on in your life, which is very nice because it shows that they really do care about you and value you as a student, and not just because it's their job, but because they actually do enjoy it.
I think during COVID, that was because we mentioned Ruth, and I've got to kind of keep going on that for a second.
Yeah.
But over COVID, I had a few courses with her, and it was kind of bizarre because I was in California, so I did not talk to anybody. I had no social life. It was, COVID, lockdown, everything was bad. And I remember like after having these kind of meetups of like, I don't know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes with Ruth, honestly, we just sat on Zoom and we were talking like for an extra 15, 20 minutes just to, I don't know, just hang out, talk about stuff. We were both kind of like feeling obviously COVID and everything, so... and both kind of just talking about the news in our respective countries. And I think, like, I don't know, I don't think I would have gotten that experience in a lot of other universities because, I mean, a lot of times professors are just focused on their research. They're there to do something that's important to them, and then teaching students is the side gig. It's the thing that they also do, but they don't want to put that much effort and time into it.
Right.
So.
Hold on. Sorry, I'll get right to that. But there was one time, I thought you were going to mention this and you didn't. There was one time during that time when Ruth like specifically went out of her way to make sure that you weren't dying.
Oh yeah.
What happened?
I sent a badly worded email that mentioned that I was quarantining when the quarantines were kind of like lifted. What I meant by that was more I was just kind of not going out and doing very much because, COVID. And she read that as you must have had COVID because, you're still quarantining and that's done now. So I got all kinds of emails and an emergency Zoom meeting with me, with Ruth that was just kind of like, are you okay? Are you dead? And I was like, no, we're fine. I'm sorry to worry you.
Yeah, so shout out to Ruth. Shout out to Marios. Marios offers me fruit and coffee all the time and always asks to make sure my home life is okay.
Yeah.
He always asks to make sure my career life is okay, and I appreciate him very much for that. Shout out Marios. Shout out Dr. Wayne Clark. We love Dr. Wayne Clark. Shout out to Dr. Sulaima. She's also a fantastic professor. A lot of our professors here actually do really care about us, and I think it really does even help us with our academics because you get motivated to do well in the class because you also want to maintain that positive relationship with the professor.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I love the professors here. All the professors that I've met here are just amazing. They're just amazing. They always want to help. And when they see you struggling or trying to, finding things difficult, they always come over and they actually talk to you on a one-to-one level, and they just tell you, how to do this, how to do that. They tell you, and they make sure that you understand it. It's not like they're on a rush to leave you or or anything. They sit down and they talk with you, and that's one of the things that I love about the professors here. And with the classrooms, I actually love the classrooms being small. I love it so much because mentally it helps. Because when you have a big classroom, a lot of people find it difficult to learn when there's a lot of people about, and some people need their space, and you can't do that with a big classroom. And I feel like with the classrooms being smaller, it really does help people mentally. They can relax, because I feel like a lot of people, they struggle when there's a ton of people just surrounding you and you feel claustrophobic and anxiety, and that prevents you from learning. So the fact that there's smaller classrooms, it's just amazing. It's just amazing to me personally.
It's like more of a safe space.
Yes, yes, it feels homey.
Comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable.
And
Hello.